Good evening. Good evening, good people. Hope you guys are all doing well. Happy Tuesday. Can y'all believe that December is tomorrow? Like, what the what? Yo, these lights are hella bright. Let me see if I can tone them down some or something. God, I look ghostly. I look kind of ghostly. So I got a chemical peel last week. Totally not remote work related, but I got a chemical peel last week, and um, as a result, like my skin is getting lighter, and it looks really weird. But I also put some sunscreen on earlier, so it looks a little strange. How y'all doing though? I am excited about answering your questions. Let me get to those questions. I love you guys always ask the best questions. You guys always ask such great questions, so I am looking forward to answering them. Let me just pull them up and get to it. Hey, Beverly. Hey, Steph. Hey, Lady A. Hey, Greatest Blessings. Okay, I'm here for that. Mimi loves peace. Yes, Mimi. I love peace as well. I don't know how long I'm going to have this cast on my face, but it looks so weird to look at myself and see like it looks like I've got like a white layer. It looks like I have a layer of sunscreen on that I haven't rubbed in. That's what it looks like to me. But my esthetician said I should get my coloring back soon. Hey, Jacqueline. Hey, Lydia. Thanks for joining. I am just, rambling until I answer these questions, until I get these questions up. Thank you. All right. So let's do this. It says, what's the first question? Oh, I like this question. I'm gonna come back to this one. Someone asked, I don't know if I understand that question. Miss Lady Ya 17 and someone else, I think, asked similar questions. They asked, what can you do to stand out from other applicants looking for remote work? I've applied for so many remote jobs and I rarely hear back. So the question was basically, I'm applying for jobs and I haven't heard back from anybody. Like, what am I doing wrong? How can I stand out? I'm looking forward to answering this question from Miss Lady Ya 17, but also someone else asked a similar question as well. Kizzy247. I'm not getting anyone to bite. I still haven't gotten an interview anywhere. Okay. So let's talk about how you can stand out. You've been applying for remote jobs. You're not getting any bites. So the first thing I'm going to say is you are going to have to use some patience. You're going to have to practice some patience, truly, because it can take on average 90 days to get a remote job, to get a job, period. This is the job market, period. It can take 90 days on average, which means that it can take longer than that as well. And so just some patience is going to be one thing. Two, I'd say let's be realistic. Like how many jobs are you applying for, right? So if you're saying, thank you, my daughter did my hair. If you're saying that you've been applying for jobs and we actually went and looked at the numbers and you've applied for 10 jobs, that's actually not a lot. That's actually not a lot, right? So I usually tell people to try to apply for 10 jobs per week. That's the goal I usually give people. Like your quota should be like at least 10 a week. So the other thing I'd say about standing out is there's a couple things that you can do. And if you think about it, you and at least 300 other people are applying for those jobs. For every job post, on average, recruiters get 300 submissions. And now that everybody wants to be online, that number has just gone up. I've talked to recruiters who've gotten 3,000 to 5,000 submissions for a position, right? So there's a number of ways that you can kind of try to stand out from the crowd. One is something that a lot of people are not doing, that's trying to network, trying to figure out another way to get in the door. So before you even go and apply for the position, one of the things that I would suggest you do is get on LinkedIn and find out who works there. There's a couple of people I always tell folks you should be connected with. at a company, excuse me, one, you should find out if you know anyone that works there. If there's anyone in your network, anybody that went to your college, anyone that was in a similar organization or from the same city, because that's an easy way to get connected and get your foot in the door, right? I actually applied for a job a long time ago, got an interview the same day, got reached out to for an interview because I found someone, reached out to them, and it turned out his sister went to FAMU. I went to FAMU. His sister went to FAMU. So he was like, I'm going to turn your resume in off GP because I see you went to FAM. All right. So here's what I think you should do. One, look to see if you know anybody that works there that you can reach out to, or if you have similar connections with anybody that works there. Like y'all went to the same college, y'all from the same town. The second thing is, second person is, everybody needs to connect to a recruiter. I always tell people, you can connect to a recruiter. You can send a recruiter a message. But the truth is, recruiters are kind of like IG models. Everybody's trying to slide up in their DMs. Everybody is trying to slide up in their DMs. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying if you do it, have the same expectations you should have if you were reaching out to an IG model. She probably going to ignore you. Unless you say something very compelling or you happen to catch that person in a moment where they're just looking through their messages, right? The second person is look for someone that either you would report to, right? Look for someone that you would report to in that role. So for instance, if I'm looking for a project manager role, I would be looking for the director of project managers or the director of the project management organization, the director of delivery services, and reach out to that person. And just kind of talk to them about, start the conversation off with, hey, I'm really interested in working in a position at your company. I'd love to know, what type of person you're looking for this role. Something, just reach out to that person. The third person I always say, and this is the best one. This is the best and easiest one. Look for someone else who is in the same role. So what I would do is, if I were trying to get the job that I have now, is I would look for other project managers at this company. And I'd say, because one, you're no threat to them, right? You're not competing for a job they're trying to get. You're not trying to take their job. You're no threat to them. And they're not a recruiter. So they're not necessarily being inundated with people reaching out to them, right? They've been in your shoes. They've wanted to get the same job. So look for people that are in the same role or similar roles. I would reach out to a project manager and say, hey, you guys have an open position and I'm really interested in it, but I'd love to know from you first, how do you like working there? Would you recommend it? Right? And when they respond, you can go ahead and start having an open dialogue and saying, you know what, do you mind if I send you my resume? And if you think I'm a fit, could you shoot it over to the hiring manager? Also, you can also ask them, do they get a bonus? Do they get referral bonuses when people get hired? Because in that case, it's a win-win scenario, right? Because if they can get you hired, then they get paid. So one of the ways that you can stand out from the crowd, from what everybody else is doing, is do the legwork up front to see if you can get your foot in the door. That's one way. Two, I always talk about not slinging stale resumes. I always talk about making sure that the keywords in your resume mirror the keywords that are in the job posting. And I'm not saying spend 20 minutes on this. I'm saying scroll through the job posting and identify the words that seem to be the most important. Right? Identify the keywords that seem to be the most important. If they say communication skills like 5 times, that should probably be in your resume. Otherwise, it's not even going to show up on their desk. I say this a lot, but if your keywords don't match their keywords, they're never even going to see your resume. You may as well drive to their office and put it in their trash can because they're literally never going to see it. Right? So that's part of the reason you're not getting any bites. I will say, and I didn't get to watch this, but my homegirl, who is a resume expert, Ashley Cash, she did a live today talking about ways to get your resume seen. So after this, I will put the link to her live in the description box. I didn't get to see it. I meant to go back and watch it before this. But yeah, she actually shared some other tips to get people. So again, I'm not the only voice you need to hear. I will bring Ashley's voice into this conversation. So I'll find a live and drop it. Let me see if I can actually drop it in the comments now. Give me just a second. So I'd say make sure your resume is actually going to come through come through their ATS system because it needs to have their keywords in it. The next thing I would say also is if you are having trouble at any point in the process, it may be time to think about other ways. It may be time to bring in an expert for that part of the process, right? So if you're stuck at the interview process, you've been interviewing, but you're not getting past the interview stage, hire an interview coach, right? If you're getting stuck at the resume stage, you're not even getting your application through, your resume through, maybe it's time to get your resume updated. Maybe it's time to get your LinkedIn updated, right? So, you can bring in experts to do that kind of thing. And there's lots of them. You can honestly just do a search for resume in Instagram and a whole bunch of resume experts will come up. That's how I found all the resume experts that I'm cool with. Ashley, I'm going to post this if my computer decides to move faster. I'm going to post the link to her live. I hope I can do that. Let me see. Yeah, I think she did this live today. Tweaking your resume. Do this instead. So she doesn't agree with my comment about updating your resume. I work in data. I work in data for a living, so I know that those systems are combing through resumes looking for keywords. And so the keywords are data. Like that's just data. So it's not, in my opinion, it's not an opinion. It's based on understanding how the systems work. But I'm happy to hear what her point of view. I'm actually excited to hear her point of view. So I'm going to share that with you too. So here's her point of view on that. And you get to decide what you want to do. But those are my recommendations. And if you're having trouble at that point in the process, then sure, go ahead, get a resume coach. Ashley actually does free resume reviews as well. So go to the link in her bio. Actually, you know what? I'll even do that for you. I'm going to give you the link from her bio. You can sign up for a free resume review from her. Free, not getting interviews. Let me review your resume. It's right in her bio. Copy link address. Let me drop that in there. Ashley's really good people. She spoke at the Quick Commuting Conference. I really like her approach. So her viewpoint is a little bit different from mine. Check it out and see how you feel about that. All right. So I'm going to go to the next question. It is, I finally got a remote job and I'm bored. She said, I finally got a remote job and I'm bored. I'm working from home, but I miss the interaction with coworkers. So as you can tell, I'm a very social person, right? So working from home is tough for people who are very social. For me, it's not necessarily about working from home. It's about having the choice. So this question is from Gina. Who else? Gina, honey. So for me, it's not about working from home. It's about having the choice of where I want to work. So I work from all kinds of places. Sometimes I work from home. Sometimes I work from coffee shops. Like I have a list of coffee shops in Tulsa and I'm kind of just bouncing around. So far I've worked from 3. Excuse me. So far, hold on. Let me just take a sip of my beverage. Excuse me, guys. So far, I've worked from 4 different coffee shops, 2 of them Black owned in Tulsa. One of them is like a coffee shop juicery, super cute place. So I usually have a list of coffee shops I want to try. I usually know where all the co-working spaces are in the city as well. So I'll do a number of things. One, I'll work from home. I'll work from coffee shops or restaurants. I will go work from co-working spaces. And sometimes I host co-working meetups where I, will send out a note to some friends that also work remotely and be like, hey, I'm going to work from this coffee shop on this day. Do you guys want to join me? Or I'm going to work from this restaurant on this day. Do you guys want to join me? Sometimes I invite people over to my house to have co-working days with me and I'll make lunch. And so when we take our lunch break, we can have lunch in my dining room and have a good time. So I have co-working meetups at home. And sometimes I go to my friends' houses to co-work as well. And when I'm in Atlanta, sometimes I go to the office and co-work with my coworkers at the office. So I do a number of things. The other thing that I do is, like I said, I go and travel. So I do workations as well. Over the summer, I worked from Mexico for 2 weeks. I have worked from Colombia for 2 weeks. I've worked from Prague before. I've worked from a lot of places. We won't list all the places that I've worked from, but sometimes I will just pick up my desk. I actually, you know what? My daughter and I rented an RV, and I worked from my RV one time. So, and I'm actually planning to do that in February. I'm planning to go get an RV and head out to somewhere great and work. So the thing is, you don't have to be bored because you're not tethered to a desk. You get to decide what your background is and where you feel most productive on any given day. So hopefully that's helpful for you. You have the power to change your background, right? Unless you have a desktop. What is going on, y'all? Last week I had a mask on my face. This week I'm struggling. Yeah, as long as you don't have a desktop or a landline that you're tied to, if you are truly mobile, there's no reason for you to be bored at home. You have the power to leave and go somewhere else. So, utilize that. I think a lot of people forget that. I think a lot of people forget that they don't actually have to sit at home and work. You can pick up and go anywhere you want as long as it's within the confines of what your company allows. So next thing I want to hear from you is where you worked from last week. Actually, every once in a while, I'll post a reel of like, here's where I worked from this week. And it'll be my house, coffee shop, my parents' house, restaurant, co-working space. Like it'll just be on any given day, I'm going to go somewhere. It's like tomorrow, I'm probably going to go to the co-working space because, I love my home office. I'm very comfortable here, but also sometimes I get bored here. Thanks for asking that. Do you have tips for finding true remote work anywhere in the world versus remote work that has to be US based? I'm finding roles where they want you to be based in the States, but I want the option to leave. Yeah, I posted a blog post maybe 3 weeks ago with remote first companies. A lot of companies are global companies. They don't care where you work from. I listed 15 companies that are similar to that. So what I recommend you do is go to that blog post. Let me share it in the comments, and then I'll share it I like doing it this way. I'm going to share it in the comments, and then I'll share it in the description box as well. There's a list of 15 companies, and that's just 15. Like there's so many of them. I just listed 15. You can do their competitors. You can look for companies like them. You can do a search for remote first companies. And a lot of them tend to be global companies. And a lot of times they don't care where you work. I'd also say, go to some of the job boards like We Work Remotely. One of their filters is actually anywhere. So turn the filters on. Use the filters. Use the tools that are available to you. So go to the job boards and make sure you are looking at the labels and the filters and asking for what it is you're actually looking for. But that blog post is a good place to start, I'd say. In general, are companies requiring vaccination for remote positions? In general, I don't think so. I wouldn't know though. I would have to have very, very in-depth information about specific requirements for job postings for like a large number of them for me to opine on that. I'm going to say I have no idea. I don't think I've seen it a lot. I'll say that. I just don't have I don't have that level of detail to know that whether or not that's happening in general. And I've not seen any articles about it either. I'd be interested if anybody has published an article about it. That's one thing that'd be good to Google. What kind of remote work is available for someone who's been out of healthcare for several years and doing childcare for less than 10? She said that she has been running a preschool and she's ready for a change. So Davida DS, you've been doing care for children 0 to 5 years, developed and implemented a preschool curriculum, and you've been running a business. So, what you said to me first is I was in childcare. You did not say I was a business owner, which is what you are, right? And so what I would encourage you to do is consider the skills that you've had to utilize to run this business. Like you just identified curriculum development. So you've done curriculum development, but you've also done a lot of planning, right? So you've had to do meal planning. You've had to do course planning. You've had to do basically project management, right? Hey, girl, hey. You've had to do project management and all kinds of stuff. So consider the skills that it took you to do that work and list those skills out, right? If you had to sit back and think about all the skills that it took you to run this childcare company, this is really early child development, right? Preschool. Think about all the skills that has taken you, that has been necessary for you to do that, right? And write those skills out. And I'd say start to do some searching, some Google searching about those skills and see what kind of positions come up. Another thing you could consider doing is you could go into curriculum development as well. There are a number of online schools that are looking for people to help them develop their curriculums. You could work as an administrator for an online school. Another thing that you could consider doing is learning a new skill that is very adjacent to what you do. Jill Davidian teaches people how to do instructional design. It sounds technical. It is not as technical as it sounds. It's really drag and drop technology. It's what you do, technology enabled, basically. So it's basically helping to design curriculums for companies. So I don't know if you remember, your first week on a job, right? You had to do all these trainings. Someone had to design those trainings, right? Somebody had to design that onboarding training that you had to do at the company. You know, that boring training that you like click through and you like, right? Let me hurry and get to this quiz. Someone had to design that. And so there are positions for instructional design, and you can also do that as a freelancer. And my friend Jill teaches people how to do that as well. So that's something you could consider. So I'd say the best place for you to start is to sit back and think through, what are the skills that were necessary for me to run this business in the first place, right? So you've already called out that you've done curriculum development, you've built assessments, right? You've managed, I don't know if you had a team, but you've had to manage schedules, you had to manage resources, you had to project management, you had to do event management, right? Just start listing out all the skills that it took you to do that, and start looking for what types of positions fit these roles, what type of positions fit these skills. And then consider being an administrator or curriculum developer for online schools, or look into getting into instructional design. Those are some options. Then you could also just, do a new skill, take up a new skill, take up something completely different that utilizes those skills as well. Someone else said, what kind of remote positions are available in the HR industry? So many, friend. Have you looked for any? Kimonat 01. I don't know. Kim Onat 01. Honey, there's so many HR positions remotely. It's not even funny. I'll give you a remote company that's an HR company. The name of that company is Remote. That is the name, remote.com. They are an HR company. They're always looking for HR generalists, benefit specialists, payroll specialists, all kinds of stuff. And they're growing like crazy. So that's a good company to start with. Oyster might also be another company that you could look at. Both of those companies have global workforces, and they don't care where you work from. They really don't. So go there. Previously in benefits, that's a great fit for you. You should holler at Remote. You should really holler at Remote. Remote.com is the name, is the website. How do you make your resume attractive to remote jobs in another career? I've been in healthcare for 30 years as a nurse. I use a chronological listing of jobs over the years, which I believe is probably dated and old. How do I change this around to make myself eye-catching to human resources or a customer service rep or a social media influencer role? Well, those are very different roles. Good question. I think this is a great question for a resume expert. What I will say is, when my resume got redone, we didn't necessarily list my jobs in chronological order. We listed my jobs based on how relevant they were for the position I was applying for. So there was a section, you know how normally you just put your jobs, like this was the job I did last, this is what I did before that. What we did was project management experience. And we listed all my project management roles. And then we did process improvement experience or something like that. And we listed the roles that were relevant to that. And I actually didn't put all of my experience on there. I just put the experience that was relevant to the position that I was looking for. So that's what we did. That's something that you could consider. You could also consider reaching out to a resume expert and letting them just, revamp your resume for you. But no, you don't have to do chronological order. There's no set way to do this, right? And if you're building a customer service resume, then that resume needs to speak to the position that you're looking for, right? So it doesn't have to be in chronological order. You could just say, let me focus on the positions that are relevant. And then all your stuff is on LinkedIn. Everything else is on LinkedIn. If they want to look at the rest of it, it's on LinkedIn, or you can put other experience and put that down there if you want to. But I'd say focus on what's relevant to the position is an option for you. What kind of entry-level salaries would these companies provide? I don't know. I can't. So the thing I can't answer is, so this is a very general question for Animu. What kind of entry-level salaries would these companies provide? That is dependent upon so many things. Because a technology role or a project manager at a technology company is their entry-level position and salary is going to be very different than, say, a recruiter for a hospital, a healthcare company. Like that's just, it's too general a question. I can't answer that. Do you think benefits they offer are very different from companies currently offering hybrid work model? No. Benefits at companies that are remote aren't that different from benefits at companies that are not remote. You know, at the end of the day, they still have employees that have to go to the doctor, right? They still have employees that have children and want to have children and have aging parents and are aging themselves, right? So they still have generally the same type of healthcare benefits. I've seen, you know, a number of remote companies that actually have better benefits than some of our brick and mortar and cubicle companies. So I wouldn't be afraid of the benefits. I've seen a lot of creative benefits at remote companies as well. Things like a minimum vacation policy. Like, you know how you have, you know, everybody's got 3 weeks. They have a minimum policy, meaning you have to take these days. You have to take them. They are required to take. You must take your vacation. I've seen benefits like sabbaticals. They'll pay for you to go somewhere, or they'll pay for you to go somewhere for a month at a time, right? I've seen benefits where, you know, they'll give you a certain amount of money to do, you know, personal development. Like if you wanted to go back to school online and get a second degree, they give you money for that. Or if you just wanted to take some coding classes or, you know, whatever, they would give you money for that. So I've seen a lot more creative benefits at remote companies than I have for cubicle companies, to be quite honest. Where's the best place to look for remote work that allows you to work with international team members? Same answer as I gave before. There are global companies that have global workforces, and those are usually remote first companies. Again, that blog post I posted has 15 of them, but there's plenty more. You can Google remote first companies, or you can look at some of those companies' competitors or alternatives. Another thing I'd say is, you know, on the job boards, like we work remotely, you can filter for international and you can filter for anywhere. And a lot of those companies have global workforces. It's pretty fun working with international team members, right? Especially if you know, when you're looking at these companies, if you look to see if they have offices outside of the US, that's a good indication as well. I'm looking for remote jobs, but the descriptions seem overwhelming. I have 25 years in higher ed. Remote admin descriptions appear overwhelming. What is your suggestion for deciphering real work? It's hard. So it's hard to answer this question because I'm not sure what you mean by overwhelming or what's overwhelming you. I'd love to know what's overwhelming you. I'm going to assume that you're trying to wade through the BS and get to what they're really asking for. What I would suggest you focus on is things that they repeat, right? Things that they mention more than once is something that's going to be important to them. And typically the things that are at the top, if they say, you know, here's our requirements, those first 3 bullets are way more important than the last 2, right? So focus on what they're saying first and focus on what they're repeating as the things that are like the real work and the things that they really want to see from their requirements. All right, I think I hit all the questions under my post. I think. Yeah, I did. Okay, so I really only have 1 minute, but let me get to the questions that you guys asked in here. You guys have been very patient and I appreciate it. I've set up a chat with a senior PM to learn about how it works at our company. Oh, that's amazing. Is it appropriate to ask if she knows the hiring manager for an open PM position if it is in the same department? Why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be appropriate? Like what would be, Meme loves peace. What would be inappropriate about that question? I want you to tell me that. What would be inappropriate about that question? If she doesn't, like, what is she going to say? What they're going to say is, no, I don't know them, or yes, I do. Like those are the options, right? What are you afraid of happening? Let me ask you that. So drop that in the comments for me. What are you afraid of happening if you ask that question? I'm curious to know that. Short answer is no, it's not appropriate. It's absolutely appropriate. Um, you know, I think you did a great thing by setting up a meeting to talk about how project management works. Expressing that interest shows some really great initiative. Setting up that meeting shows some really great initiative. I'd say, after that meeting, the next conversation or at the end of that conversation is I'm really interested in applying for a project management position. Based on my skill set, do you believe I'm a good fit? Would you mind shooting my information over or connecting me with the hiring manager in that department, or if you know someone in that department? That's how networking works. That is how it works. That is how networking works. I'm telling you, do it. You are already on the right track. Just by setting up that meeting, you are already on the right track. You're doing things that a lot of people are not doing. Good on you. Don't be scared, baby. Because the worst she can say is no. And what's going to happen if she says no? Is your heart going to stop beating? It ain't. Nope. Your heart will not stop beating if she says, no. Even if she says, no, I'm not willing to pass your information on. Nothing bad will happen to you. I promise. Right? Even if she says, you know what, thanks for setting up this meeting. I'm not willing to pass your information on, but really appreciate it. Okay, cool. You work there. You can find out who it is and send them your information on your own. Right? As long as you know where you stand. Nothing bad will happen. You'll be disappointed. Your feelings will be hurt, and you will wake up the next day. Right? I'm very proud of you for setting up that meeting. Don't be afraid to ask for what you need. Never be afraid to ask for what you need. What you need is a connection. Ask for the connection. Cool? I look forward to getting an update from you. Please slide in my DMs and let me know how the meeting went tomorrow. I'm super invested in this now. And I don't know your Instagram name, so I'm not going to be able to chase you down. I'm living in Suriname. Ooh, and I have a problem with international remote work because it's mostly engineering levels. Any tips? I don't know. So there are a couple of, I'm always a little bit wary when people say it's mostly, right? Because I just don't think we have enough information to say something is mostly, right? I think that we may just not know where to look. I don't know how often you're looking, how much you're looking, what you're looking at, where you're looking. So I'm a little hesitant to say that. I've seen a lot of positions that are, pretty much span the gamut and that are international. I'm going to give you a website to go to. It is actually in my Remote Ready bundle. The Remote Ready bundle has a list of 75 places to find remote work. And it has a section specifically for international jobs, specifically for international remote jobs. And the Remote Ready bundle is less than $50. I'm going to give you one of the websites that's in it for free because I love y'all. It's called Pangian. And they usually have postings for international remote jobs. So check that out, Mo Macy in Suriname. Check that out. Hopefully that works for you. She's leaving. Who's leaving? Let's see. That's one of the main reasons I'm interested in remote work. Being stuck in the office isn't working for me. I might get to all the questions. Would you recommend a person studying for the PMP cert to change from a new state position with benefits to a position that possibly can provide hands-on experience? My main concern is losing benefits. I don't know that I understand your question, Milan. What does the certification have to do with changing the position? Because it sounds like your decision needs to be about whether or not you want to change positions. It doesn't feel like the PMP certification is the deciding factor. My main concern is losing benefits. If your main concern is losing benefits, then the question is, should I move the position or not, right? I don't understand what the PMP cert has to do with it. Should you get do you have to have the PMP cert for it? Can you add more color? I'll stay on for another minute. And while I wait for you to respond to that and add more color to that, I'm just going to tell you guys, one, if you don't have my free guide, I do have a free guide. My favorite places to find remote work. Let me drop the link to that in the comments right quick. My free guide of my favorite places to find remote work. I'm going to update that next year. I think I'm going to change it to, make it a little bit more robust. Yes, I answered all the Instagram questions already. So you're going to have to catch the replay, friend. Oh, wait. Is my free guide not in? Oh, Lord, y'all. Somehow my free guide got removed. I will find a link and drop it. So your username's fine. So I have a free guide of my favorite places to find remote work. I also have a course. If you need a little bit more guidance, assistance, I do have a course that walks you through 4 phases of finding remote work. It starts with, where are the remote jobs? Where can I find remote jobs? And one of those things is a list of 75 places to find remote work. And like I said, there is a specific section in there for international remote jobs. I talk about how to apply for jobs, right? So some of the things that we talked about earlier, people aren't getting bites because they're just hitting that apply button and they're not taking some of the steps to make it a lot more feasible that they'll get seen by a recruiter. And then there's a section that talks about the interview, right? How to nail the interview. There's even a mock interview with me and my friend Jenna Moharan. And then we talk about how to negotiate the salaries, negotiate your offer as well. And the guide is less than $50. It's $47 to be exact. And you can pay for it in 2 installments if you need to. I just put the link in the comments. I'm going to put it in the description box as well. 2 more things that I want to let you know about. 1, Quit Commuting Conference is happening again in April of 2022. We just sold out of all of our premier tickets for Black Friday through Cyber Monday, which I'm very excited about. But the Quit Commuting Conference is huge. It's basically a 3-day conference where we go through in very, very detail a lot of the stuff that you guys have asked about, and we bring in experts. So like Ashley, the one who reviews resumes, she came and did resume reviews for people at the conference. We had 3 or 4 resume reviewers. We had a LinkedIn specialist. Fun fact, the job I have, I did not apply for. The CEO found me on LinkedIn because my LinkedIn was on point. So we had a LinkedIn coach there. And we had, the most important thing is we have a lot of HR professionals and recruiters there. People actually come there looking to hire. So there is a job fair component. So be on the lookout for tickets. I'm so glad you guys got your tickets. And then thing 2 is I've been promising you that I'm going to launch an academy where you get more of this access. You get a deeper level of access, and you get access to experts like resume reviewers at a discounted rate, because they're going to charge you a rate to update your resume and to create resumes for you, right? And so my hope is that, you guys will be able to get that at a discounted rate, and you'll get master classes every week, deep dives into specific areas that can help you work remotely. So even like I talked about instructional design, one of my good friends who teaches instructional design will do a master class on that topic, right? So I'm very excited about the Academy. So excited about the Academy, and registration is going to open on the 15th for the Academy. And I'm struggling, y'all. Everybody's going to get the first month free in the Academy. So you guys can come and try it out, see what it's like, and then decide if you want to continue on in the Academy. That's it. Those are my updates. And unfortunately, my friend Milan did not give me more information on her question, so I cannot answer it. But I'm very glad I was able to get to everybody's questions tonight. And y'all have a good night. Cheers. See y'all next week.